I believe we are live. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for this really, really exciting interview that I'm about to do with this really amazing woman named Shauné Hayes. I'm going to bring her on in just a second. I see that people are starting to come in. So welcome. Feel free to ask us questions along the way. We'll continue talking, but if I see questions piling up, we'll jump into those at some point as well. So I'd like to bring in today's guest. Why is it doing like that? Here we go. Shauné Hayes. And I realized as I was saying your name that I think I screwed it up again, but did I say it properly?
No, you said it right, Shaune.
Yay! Well, welcome. And so I discovered you through, the other Forks Over Knives success stories. And I was really, really, taken with yours, and especially like the way you've gone from, the challenges you were having with health all the way to now becoming, a certified nutritionalist. I also got a certification in nutrition on my journey.
Okay.
So we got a lot of parallels there. So, we're going to talk about all of that today, and how you got to where you are today, and like actually, shifting your career into being like I would say like a whole food plant-based professional.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
a pro whole food plant-based person. Look at you. So we'll jump around here a little bit, but again, ask any questions you want to ask. But I just like to go and start at the very beginning, and let me know, like, what was it like? How, at what point did you realize you were having health issues? I know for you it started at a very young age.
Yes, it did. 12 years old. So we can rewind to 12 years old. So I grew up in the Midwest, from Kansas City, Missouri, originally. Go Chiefs, for those football fans out there. And I say that I grew up on what we consider the standard American diet. So Kansas City is known for barbecue. So yes, there was lots of meat of various kinds. Cheese, processed foods, white bread. I don't even remember seeing brown bread at that time or even knowing what that was.
No, I thought it was going bad when I saw that.
Right. I was like, what is that?
Someone burned that bread.
Yeah, pretty much. So very much lots of unhealthy things. And so I just found myself struggling with my weight as a kid. And so 12 years old, I joined my first weight loss program. And I always say that set off what felt like a roller coaster ride of yo-yo fad trend dieting over the next 30 years. So 30 years.
So let's stay. I want to stay at this 12-year-old
Mhm.
thing for a second, because this is
Yeah.
fascinating to me. This was self-imposed?
So yeah, it was very much me being aware, becoming more aware of my weight. Of course, people weren't kind, kids weren't kind, even some family members weren't kind. And so of course that brings more attention,
Yeah.
as a kid. And so I just found myself wanting to lose weight. And then, I'm grateful for my mom because she may not have known what to do, but she was there and willing to support me. So if you want to go to this program with me, because she was also in the program as well, she's like, then you can do that. And
Yeah.
so I'm grateful to her for trying to help her daughter in the best way that she knew how.
Yeah, that's amazing. I'm glad to hear that it was like, I'm sad that you at 12 years old, that's what's on your mind. But I'm so glad to hear that it was like you leading yourself there, and not. And I've got an 11-year-old daughter, so for me, it's just like just knowing the barrage of challenges that young women go through with body issues, and I'm sure men and people of all genders go through as well, but particularly in my experience too, like having a sister that was older than me and watching all of that from a distance, it's just it's unpleasant.
It is, and it was.
What's a weight loss program at 12 years old look like?
It was checking in. It was, writing down what you're eating, tracking your food, checking off, boxes and meeting certain things like getting in this many fruits and vegetables a day, getting in this much protein a day, getting in this much fat a day. Um, you know, Again, having to step on the scale every week. And so those types of things started to affect me very early on.
Yeah.
I very much started to attach, dieting with the scale and with, this very regimented, tedious, meticulous way of trying to get healthy. And so I just don't really remember learning the for real fruits of how to get healthy, pun intended.
Yeah.
But
So
it
like
just,
that. So it was like restricting and counting
yes,
calories a lot.
yes, thank you. Restricting, counting calories. And so
But that was, so I don't want to age you, so you don't have to say what year it was. But like, I just know how old I am, and I'm sure we're in a similar bracket. We didn't have like the fancy apps you've got today that you just type in, I ate this, and it's like, here's
So,
all your information.
right. It
So
was paper and pen.
that's a job.
Exactly. Right.
Wow. Like that's
So,
even harder. It's so easy to do that now.
yeah.
Even though I don't necessarily advocate it the way I used to.
Same. Yeah.
But wow, like that's dedication to do it back in the day when you couldn't
Back in
just
the
Google it.
day. Yeah.
Wow. So you mentioned over the years you had a series of yo-yo and fad diets. Please, what are some of those fad diets you tried?
Is it okay to mention? I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want to get anybody coming after you for legal reasons
Oh,
or purposes.
I mean, who's gonna go? I mean, I think it's okay to talk about your experience of them.
Uh, I, I'm a
Uh-oh.
little shy with not mentioning them
That's
because,
fair. Can you mention, like, maybe don't mention them by name, but just
okay,
mention like the kind of elements that were
kind of
involved in
elements.
them?
Okay, I
Yeah,
can do
let's
that.
do that. Let's keep
Okay,
ourselves
yeah.
both free from being
Yes,
sued.
exactly. I'm just always mindful.
I appreciate that.
So yeah,
You're
so let's
smarter than
see.
I am.
So, well, one particular diet, of course, really focused heavily on lots of meats.
Okay.
Just eating, eating a lot of that, lots of cheese, lots of, things with a lot of saturated fat, and to really kind of kick your metabolism up a notch. So that was one.
So that
Then
you
of
go
course,
into a certain
so that
state,
you go into a certain state,
which we won't, it's a
which
four-letter
we
word that
will.
we won't name. You can
So
say in the
that
comments below, but we don't need
right. So of course that was one, really popular at the time, and then of course there were
still
the
popular.
yeah, very much so. Yeah, very much so. And then there was, oh gosh, well, I can say this one. Like, I'm sure you remember the grapefruit, like a grapefruit diet or whatever, where you just kind of just taking it all, lots of grape.
If big grapefruit comes after me.
Right, right. And this cabbage soup comes after me.
I did that one.
Yeah, see?
We called it the hospital diet
Oh, really?
because it's what they gave people to prepare for surgery.
Right, exactly.
Which should tell you something. It's not meant for to be on long term,
On long
or
term.
yeah, it's meant for
Right.
patients going in for surgery that need to lose a
Exactly.
few pounds.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like you could eat as much cabbage soup as you wanted, right? And
Exactly.
then like on day 2 you could have bananas and milk, and that was just
Right.
like heaven.
Yeah, and then I
Yeah.
remember this company out there that was smoothies were a part of the diet. I won't say the name of the company. I don't even think they're in existence, but it was very much a smoothie type diet, and they had their product that they would send you so you could put in the smoothies and make that. Then I tried injections of various sorts, appetite suppressants. I mean, if it said it could help you lose weight, I was trying it because I really just did not understand, how to get healthy and how to do it the right way.
Right. So what's the rock bottom? Like at what point do you just realize that you need to, make a shift and change things? Like where's that?
Yeah, so rock bottom was 2017. And this was, I always say this was when I really hit a professional and personal low. And it was also when I had a health scare. And so I say unfortunately, but fortunately, it was the wake up call that I needed. But at this point in my life, my weight had gotten up to 278 pounds. And I was suffering from chronic issues. Okay. I was pre diabetic. I was hypertension stage 1. I was borderline high cholesterol. I was dealing with arthritis, lower limb muscle fatigue because I work on my feet a lot with my other business. I was, not sleeping well, constant heartburn, and I also struggle with polycystic ovarian syndrome, which a lot of women probably may be familiar with. But I struggle with infertility, so I do have 3 kids, but I did struggle to get pregnant with them, and my weight was an issue with each of those pregnancies. And for me, that condition PCOS was marked by irregular cycles, and then just again struggling to lose weight. And so it did very much affect me being able to get pregnant, and I did have to do infertility treatment to conceive my kids. And so that was rock bottom. And then this health scare also was when it was like, okay, Shauné, you have to do something quickly because you cannot continue to go on living like this.
Yeah. And how old were you when this? Oh yeah, You don't
Oh,
say
I mean,
right.
I don't mind sharing that. It's
Okay.
out there somewhere. So I started my wellness journey when I was 42, and I
Okay.
and I say, and the reason why I share this is because I just remember, reading in articles, when women you hit 40, your metabolism's gonna slow. It's gonna be so hard to lose weight, and so in my mind, I'm like, if I don't get this weight off by 40, I'm doomed. So you have these like pressures, on you from society. And so I say, yes, I put that out there because I want people to know that, yeah, 42, I started this journey and lost this weight, and it's possible.
Yeah. Yeah, mine was a little earlier. At 35, I think I woke up the day after my like 35th birthday party, very hungover and feeling
Mhm.
awful and going, I can't continue this. And so I made the goal that by 40 I would be at like an ideal health.
Okay.
And I didn't start for another 2 years
Okay.
because you that's what happens. But then I think I made my goal like a year early.
Okay.
But it took like I'm glad I gave myself that time. It wasn't like in 6 months from now I'm gonna run a
Right.
marathon. I don't think I'm that
Right.
person.
Exactly. And I would do that. I would remember doing a fit by 40. Like I'm gonna be there by 40. And so age 39, I was like, all right, I got a year to go. And it just really for me put this pressure on me that I don't know, it just didn't help. And did I hit the goal by 40? No, I did not.
But
So
but that's okay too. You and I were talking earlier about just that idea of like, it's about the journey, not the destination. And it's
yes.
not, or no, sorry, really, it's about both. It's about the
Yeah,
destination that was in health is more about the journey because it's about longevity, right? It's not about being,
absolutely.
I don't know, it's not about perfection, progress, not perfection,
Yeah,
right? I think is the
definitely.
term because
Definitely.
it's so easy to get caught up in like those little backslides we do, right?
Yeah.
Where
And
like
then
we,
yeah. And the other thing I would add to that too is like when you think about setting a goal, it's like, okay, and we talked about this too before we came on, like how I had this goal to get married in my mother's wedding dress. So to do that, I had to lose weight. So I lost 50 pounds and it came off. I got married in her dress. But then, of course, when I go back into married life and I'm settled in, that weight came back. And so what did not happen during that process is that I never established habits to keep that weight off. It was like, let me just hit that number. I'm there. Now what? And so I
that
think that's a lot of times that's what people miss.
that's what I found too. I found like my initial weight, like anytime I had any like minor successes with weight loss before my real weight loss, it was always like from a result of like little life hacks
Right.
that were not sustainable.
Right. Yes.
And even I assumed that like going whole food plant based was going to be the exact same thing.
Hmm.
And then I was kind of delighted and shocked at the same time to realize that it was sustainable.
Yes.
So talk to me about discovering whole food like the journey and how you got to where you discovered that, because I knew it involved working with somebody, right?
Absolutely. So yes, 2017, fall of 2017, I started working with this health coach. So June 2017 is when I had the health scare, but I didn't start working with the coach until November. And so, it was one of those things where I was kind of gradually working my way there. But I started working with a health coach, and this was a very pivotal moment for me because I felt like I finally started to get what healthy eating was. I had made it about dieting, deprivation, restriction, and all of that. And what she showed me is that when it comes to food, think about it as simply fueling your body. What do you choose to fuel your body with? And when I thought about that, it was like, okay, well, right now I'm not fueling it with good things. And so how do we then so how,
Uh-oh.
right. So then how do we then shift that? So I started working with her and just we started making little small tweaks. And I started really thinking about food, for what its purpose is, I think, which is optimal nutrition, digestion, and then joy. And so she started having me just eat more fruits and vegetables. Just incorporate it, no pressure. Think about your plate, divide it into a fraction. Let's try to get half of that being vegetables, maybe the other quarter being some grains, and then your protein of choice. Very simple things. But what I discovered is that I loved eating that way.
Mm.
I started to just cook more at home. I'm like, okay, I'm going to really make an effort not to eat out and really try to prepare some meals. And she would, send me recipes to try that were very simple and flavorful, and they were plants, and it was very much plant based. And I'm like, and I started discovering new recipes and just ingredients and things. And I'm like, this is really good. And it was very much just little simple things like that that I started to incorporate, and then that I started to enjoy and like, and just wanted to do more and add on to that.
Isn't it crazy? And I was probably similar, where it's like how that it took that long in our lives to go, oh, food is fuel for my body.
Right.
I should put in clean fuel
Pretty
to
much
my
just like
body,
a car. Yes.
as opposed to like oil and burgers and
Yes. And
yeah,
the other big shift was around the word diet. It was always
mm,
this, and so what she again helped me to see is that diet is how you feed your body. You know, your diet consists of what you choose to feed your body. And I started to be like, oh, well, if I choose to eat on fast food, then that's my diet. If I choose to consume, you know what I mean? So it's
yeah,
very much like, no, it's not this plan that you have to check off boxes. It really is how you decide to feed your body.
amazing, amazing.
Yeah. It was
I
just
just
huge, little but huge.
So just quickly, I want to say thank you for everyone that's watching right now. If you have any questions, please hit us up down below. A lot of you said hi. People from all over the world. We got Lori from North Carolina, Mary from Southern Indiana, Shayla from North Dakota, someone from another Canadian, Pauline, and also we got someone from Trinidad and Tobago, Rizzy. Hi. So thank you for joining us. Don't be shy about asking us any questions down below as we go through. So talk to me about the hardest part of your transition. Like, what did you find most difficult when you started eating this way? If you did, and if anything was difficult at all.
I have to be honest in that that's the beauty of this time because it wasn't difficult. Out of all the other things I tried before, that those were more difficult than this because it was very much gradual. It was very much, don't eat this, don't eat that. But she was opening my eyes up to other things that I, could be eating, should be eating. And it was where I was very limited before in what I was eating. A whole world was being opened up for me as far as food. And so again, because it was very gradual, because it was a choice and decision that I made, and there was no pressure coming from anywhere else, I can't say that there were moments, or I can't think of anything where it was just hard or difficult. This was actually the easiest time where I finally lost the weight, finally got healthy and kept it off. This was the best time, this experience.
And so how long were you eating this way before you started to notice changes in all that laundry list of health issues that you
Right.
mentioned?
I would probably say, so I worked with her for 6, 12, about three different programs, 6 weeks each, 6 weeks each. And so I'll probably say after that, I started to really notice, okay, the weight's coming up and I'm not even really trying because I'm eating lots of food, but it's just different food that I'm eating. I started walking a lot. A lot of times exercise, we're just like, ugh. But I started to kind of reframe that and just think about physical activity and movement and started to walk a lot. And so I'd say maybe 4 or 5 months, I started to see my weight come off. And then going to the doctor, my numbers started getting better. Blood pressure was improving, cholesterol numbers were coming down. All of these things that I was suffering with were going away. And in my mind, I'm thinking, how is this possible? The only thing I've changed is what I'm eating, the food.
Which is pretty huge when you
It's
think.
pretty huge. And so I go from like, okay, this food is actually healing me. I need to know more.
Yeah, when you realize it, you're like, oh, heck, why did it take me so long to
So
realize?
long. And like the medications and things that I was on for those conditions, I started not needing anymore and eventually able to come off of them completely. So,
Which, and especially you live in the States, so that's money in your pocket.
oh, yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And so I think somewhere in the article, the Forks Over Knives article, it mentioned specifically part of your weight loss plan was green smoothies and walks.
Yes. Yep. So that was that was before the health coach. I was like, let me just try to just do
Oh,
some
okay.
smoothies. Yeah, that was before the health coach. It was just me and a friend just got together. Let's just do some smoothies. So we would do 2 smoothies a day and then try to do a healthy dinner.
So
But
what else did you do for movement though, for like exercise as you started along, and then maybe what are you doing now?
gotcha. So people who have followed me on social media, I started a road to fitness, started sharing about that. And so I literally walked for 2 years, rain or shine, snow, heat, all of that. The coldest I walked in was 24 degrees. And so walking was very much a huge part of that and just being outdoors, which I fell in love with. But
Mm.
what I noticed as I was losing weight that I'm like, okay, I'm not seeing muscle tone. And so that's when I kind of, would still walk, but I started added strength training to that. So strength training. And so now that's what I currently still do. I still love to walk, but I also do like HIIT exercises, routines,
Yeah.
and all of that. Yep.
Hit a lot of I have a lot of body weight stuff I do.
Yes, exactly.
My son now just is in high school, and now he gets up and works out with me in the morning.
Yeah, one of my twins, I have twin boys. He's starting to work out in the mornings on his own.
Amazing. So we have a couple questions here. First, a nice comment that
Aw,
says you're glowing.
thank you.
So Mary Jo wants to know, does your family eat the same way?
Gotcha. So I am 100% plant based. I would say my husband is about 80%, and then my kids. I have a daughter who's 16 and twin boys who are 12. I'd give my daughter about 75%, and then the twins about 70%.
Yeah,
So
my wife's the same as me, but my kids are about
Mhm.
the same. That they're like,
Right, yeah. So one of the things, I do have them try, whenever I'm making something, or if they have a recipe they want to make, I'll say, hey, let's make it plant-based. And so, but they very much are eating so much healthier than, I remember eating as a kid. So
100%. So with that in mind, then, so what's dinner look like at your house with people that are like somewhat on the plan that you're on, and people that aren't? Like, are you making multiple meals? Are you making one meal?
right. So to give you an example, usually it's one meal, but with variations. So this week I made a kale ramen dish, which my twins love. And for those, one of the things that they may like put on there, and maybe they'll, I'll make some shrimp for them to put on theirs, or husband might, do some salmon that they can add or eat with that. But it has kale, carrots, mushrooms, in it, and that, it's plant based for me. I use vegetable broth, and it's completely, 100% plant based, and so they may add, that just to get some, or they may eat it as it is. So
Yeah.
whenever I'm doing stuff like a Buddha bowl or something, you can do many different options with that. And so it just gives them variety.
I would say, just to jump on top of that, I would say one of the, like, just take that idea and add it to any other cuisine you've got. Like, we do pasta, we call it bars, right? So we do pasta
Okay.
bars. So it's just like putting up multiple ingredients that people can make their own things with, right? So they can add whatever
Absolutely.
vegetables they want. My daughter doesn't like mushrooms, so I always cook that on the side.
Right.
And tacos are easy that way too,
Oh,
right? Some of
yes.
the fillings, like you said, salads.
Yes.
You name it. It's like just doing the bowls, like making like almost like
Exactly.
a little buffet that's not hard to make.
It's not hard to make. And
And
even when
then
I have friends over who are not, fully eat this way, it's a very similar thing. I'll have all these different options, maybe some salmon or whatever for them, some shrimp, and they can do whatever they want to
Right.
do.
Sumuski
Yeah.
is asking how you found your coach.
How do we? You know what? We met online. She actually found me, and we worked together, and it just kind of was a result of that.
How did she find you?
So my other business, I'm a full-time makeup artist. So she booked me for makeup, and
Oh,
come to find out she's a chef and coach and all that, and we just bonded. And she started a coaching program, and it just resulted from that. So it wasn't initially me looking to work with her for health coaching, but it very much was this relationship. And when she started a program specifically to help women, I was like, I'm signing up. So unfortunately, she's not health coaching at the moment, but
gotcha.
she definitely was a huge. It made all the difference in my journey.
Great. Another comment. Someone loves your glasses.
Ew. I get a lot of compliments on these.
They're great. Angel Wild, which I'm assuming is not a real name, and if it is, you're officially the coolest person
Yes,
I've met
very
today.
cool.
Did your food cravings go away, and how long did it take for you to notice your taste change? This is a great one because I know, like, that first month is a shock for
Definitely.
some people, right?
Yeah, they did eventually go away. I'll say it probably took, gosh, you know what? I can't even put a number on it, but what I noticed is that the more fruits, vegetables, whole grains, those plant-based foods that I ate, that's what my body started to crave. And so I look up, and the sweet tooth that I used to have is no longer there, because now my body's like, give me more of this good stuff that you're eating. So I can't even really put a number on it, because I just don't remember paying attention to it that way. But I just know that over time, the more good that I fed my body, the more it wanted that. So that when I then went back and tried to taste something that I used to eat, take some peanut butter, not 100% natural, but just regular
Yeah.
peanut butter. I won't call any brand names.
The icing sugar peanut butter, I call it.
Taste the sugar. I can taste the oil. I'm like, ew, how did I ever love this stuff and grew up on it? But
That's just it. Yeah, I called it my farewell tour to like eating that way, because it was just, you'd go along a certain way and you're like, I want to give myself a little treat, but then you'd
right.
have something and you're like, oh my god, this
Yeah,
just, or you'd feel terrible like an hour later, and it's just,
exactly.
and you keep going back, but the more and more you just get away from it, it just doesn't, it stops tasting good.
It starts exactly, and that's what happened for me. I was like, this doesn't. Ugh. Even with like jam, jelly, I make my own. I love making like date paste.
Because all you can taste is the sugar, right?
You can taste is the sugar, exactly.
Yeah, if
So
it doesn't have flavor, it's just no. That's why most candy for me, I'm just like, all I taste is sweet,
sweet, yeah.
which is not really a flavor, but you know what I mean when I
But
say all I taste is sweet.
Oh, totally, yeah.
Yeah. Pauline is asking, what advice would you give to someone like me who's been eating whole food plant-based for 3 years, but my weight loss is so slow? I've only lost 10 of the 30 pounds I would like to lose.
Gotcha.
I've definitely got some thoughts on this, but let's start with you.
Yeah. So I would say that it took me 3 years to lose 100 pounds. So if you break that down, you're averaging like 30 pounds a year. So it was a very gradual and slow process. And what I did notice when I felt like I was plateauing, I would have to really just kind of look at, okay, what do I need to kind of shift or change up? And so a part of that, was considering what I was doing as far as exercise or physical activity. I started to kind of change things there. And then also just as a woman, I even noticed here lately how, I feel like my metabolism is, slowing and things are changing inside because I am getting older and will soon be entering into the menopause at some point. I don't know. I'm not that old, but I'm just saying that is in my future. And so, and even talking to my doctor just recently, she was just like, your body definitely, it's changing. It's going to change. Things will slow down. And
it's got some miles on it.
It really does. And so I would maybe try exercise. Are there things you can tweak as far as that? And then kind of looking at what you're eating as well in terms of, are you getting in like I was doing like lots of oatmeal and stuff. And I felt like I need to kind of pull back, on that, and the starchy vegetables too, just a little bit.
Yeah, and I would say, again, it's about the journey, not the destination. Like, I would first of all ask yourself, why do you think it's 30 pounds you need to lose? Because a lot of people have this number in their brains, and it's not. And I had that for the longest time. So my journey went from at my heaviest, I was 360 pounds, and at my lightest, I was like 160. So I lost like 200 pounds, and that was about 30, 40 pounds too much to lose.
Okay.
Like people thought I was dying.
Gotcha.
And it just, but of course you get addicted to the weight loss. I'm sure anyone that's had that, you're like, oh, it becomes like a game in a way. It's like, how many pounds did I lose today? Because when I started, I was losing 9 to 10 pounds a month regularly for like a year straight. And but then it plateaued, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, some of the things I tried when it plateaued, I started intermittent fasting. Which for me, I did, I started off doing like, a 10-hour or 12-hour, whatever, no, 16-hour. So I would stop eating at 6 o'clock and I wouldn't eat again until like 10 o'clock the next morning.
Gotcha.
And so I'd only have an 8-hour feeding period. My feeding period was, so I did that for a while and that was good. But then, as I got closer to where my body was at, it's like the weight that felt natural for it. I shifted it over. So now it's more like, probably closer to like a 12-hour.
Okay.
Maybe 10. Basically it's like I don't have anything after dinner, which is usually, or like a healthy dessert, which is usually around 7 o'clock. And I usually don't have breakfast until 8. So it's like 12 or 13 hours. I just don't snack at night. We used to sit on the couch and watch TV and have a bowl of popcorn or something.
Yes.
And I just don't do that. I eat at meal times. If I need a snack in between, I kind of allow myself to do that. And then there was something else I was going to mention and I forgot. But yeah. Oh, and I just found for myself, and this is kind of like, as someone who would weigh themselves daily, I'm at the point now where I just weigh myself once a week, Wednesday mornings, first thing, as soon as I go to the bathroom, because that half pound of pee I don't want on the scale, right? And and I'm naked because clothes weigh stuff.
They sure do.
Right. So and it's that's what I've read as being the most consistent time to, if you're going to weigh yourself, do it once a week, Wednesday, because it's like, you're usually at your lightest on like Friday mornings, because you've sometimes been good throughout the week.
Mm-hmm.
And you're usually at your heaviest on like Sundays. Right.
Gotcha.
So Wednesdays are a nice medium. It's not going to like give you false hope, and it's not going to like make you feel bad.
Right.
So
I do Fridays. I do Friday mornings.
There you go. So you're the sunshine. You're looking for the little extra,
I am like,
little
I've
extra
been
love.
working all week, but I would like to co-sign on the intermittent fasting because that is something that I, did as well when I hit a plateau. And I
Yeah.
do like eat at 12 and don't eat after 7.
And I was a calorie counter too. And so now it's just
Mhm.
like I stopped that. That was hard to stop too. That is a
Mm.
hard thing to stop once you get used to it. But I stopped that, and now it's just like I eat pretty clean most of the time. I have a couple treats here and there. But I keep my portions, and I don't go hungry. I have a little snack if I need to. I don't punish myself. And I find that my weight has naturally stayed around the same, like 4 or 5 pounds. It goes up a
Exactly.
little bit, down a little bit, but it's pretty consistent without having to like go crazy. And so it's
Right.
really, I would just, to echo what you were saying about movement, find, if you don't like to exercise, which is like most people,
Right.
just find ways to move that you enjoy.
Absolutely.
And walk, find some good
Mhm.
podcasts, and go for walks, catch up with friends and family.
Yes.
Park your car further away in the parking lot,
Yes.
or if you
Stairs.
live stairs. If you live somewhere where you can walk to stores as opposed to drive, sometimes do that. Whatever you can do to just find ways to move that you enjoy that don't feel like exercise. I would
Exactly.
I
That's
would
great
argue.
advice. Yep.
Carnell, hi Carnell, is
Hi,
asking.
Cornell. That's
Oh,
my
hi Carnell.
friend.
Is asking how long did it take you to get used to eating vegan and enjoying the food? You kind of already answered this, but I'll let you jump on it again.
Yeah. I would say, how long did it take to get used to it? Because it was very gradual. So I didn't just wake up and be like, all right, not having animal products anymore. It was very much, just removing them from my diet over time because I just realized that, the healthier food is having, a change in me that I just have never experienced. And so I just found myself just wanting to remove as much as possible. So it was very gradual. So it wasn't took me 2 months, 3 months. I just gradually removed the animal products and yeah, haven't looked back.
So, and I think I enjoyed it right away.
I
I
enjoyed it right away too, and I cook a lot, so when I eat out,
yeah.
I like to eat, yeah,
And,
cook my own food,
and did
but
and I know you've done like a nutritionist course too with. Did you find like you kind of got into the gamification of like, oh, how do I turn this meal into health?
oh,
Whole food plant
totally.
based.
Oh yeah, I was
I
looking
get
for
so nerdy about that.
yeah, I would come across recipes. Okay, I'm gonna make this plant based. I'm gonna Shaune like this.
Yeah, whenever someone puts oil in a recipe, I'm like, oh no, you
I'm
didn't.
like, no, you didn't. You don't need to do that.
I'm doing a cookbook review right now for the vegan instant pot by Nisha
Uh-huh.
Vora, and she has like it is not a healthy recipe. It's
Right,
like
right,
it's like
right.
an
Gotcha.
Oreo cheesecake. But it's like the thing that killed me about it that I changed, and little spoiler for those that are going to watch that video, but the crust is all just Oreos, because if you just blitz Oreos up, like the filling inside is enough to bind stuff together,
That's
right? But
right.
she adds oil to hers, and I was just like, that's insane to me.
Oh yeah, I
And I
don't think.
did find, to be fair, I find it blitzing, right? I'm like, oh, it's not quite sticking the other way I wanted to. I threw some
Okay.
aquafaba in there.
Oh, nice. Yes,
Done.
come here, chickpea.
Yeah. Don't throw that stuff out. That stuff
Don't
is
throw it
liquid
out.
gold.
It is liquid gold. It
Yeah.
sure is.
So anyway, not the hijack about my
No, no, I love that.
so Holly is asking, are there any foods like cauliflower, tofu, lentils, whatever, that you found new ways to cook so your family would love them since you went plant-based?
Oh yeah. So yes, cauliflower. Make it cauliflower rice. They don't know. Tofu. I like to. Tofu. I like to. Usually I'll cube it and put it in and roast it. My daughter loves it that way. But for the twins, I'll sneak it in a smoothie. Same way with avocado. They don't know. Don't tell them. Are they gonna watch the playback?
Maybe.
Lentils. I love making lentils like curry lentils or something that gives it a lot of flavor. And with adding like diced tomatoes with that and making it a dish. And I love spices, create spices, and so that is helpful. So yeah, I would say those are just a few ways. And even with the cauliflower, just like with tacos and things, kind of using that, as like a meat, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah. I've got
Tricks.
a video that's going to come up this weekend of me cooking a dinner party for a bunch of people that are not plant-based. And I
Ooh,
made tacos for them with like a cauliflower walnut mixture.
yes, I love it.
That works
Oh my
well.
gosh, yeah.
I'm going to give you a tip for tofu too with your twins.
Okay.
Grate it up with like a box grater. Like,
I saw you do that in the video.
yeah, grate it up, and then just like put a rub on it, like a wet rub or whatever, and just bake
Okay.
it. and
Okay.
it's similar to what people do with jackfruit,
Right.
but it has the protein that jackfruit doesn't have.
Yes. Gotcha. I love it.
And
Love it.
same, you just see that the beauty of, I always, whenever I hear people say, well, I don't know how to cook, I don't like tofu. It's like,
Oh, I don't understand that because I'm
tofu
like, oh
has
my
no
God,
flavor. Just
it has no flavor. You can give it any flavor you want. I love tofu scramble too. That was the other thing. I'll do like a scrambled egg, like, you know,
yeah. When I hear people say they don't like tofu, I'm like, oh, you don't know how to cook.
that's what it is.
Because if you know how to flavor things,
Then you can make tofu amazing.
you can figure it out. And on that note, Tammy is asking, do you season food like cooked potatoes and steamed veggies? If so, what do you season them with? And we're going to use this to segue into you talking about your own spice blends.
Thank you. That was so perfect, right? So one of the things that as I was transitioning to a plant-based lifestyle, I was like, okay, why do people say eating healthy is bland and boring? I don't get that. And so for me, it was all about making sure the food was seasoned and flavored good. And I started like getting in the kitchen, like mixing up spices and just having fun with it. And I was like, I need to do something with this. So I did, come together and kind of create my own spice line, which I'll be adding spices to. But I really just wanted to show people it's not bland, it's not boring. Vegetables are absolutely not flavorless. And let me show you how to bring that flavor. So I am big on flavor. And so, yes, I season pretty much everything.
Yeah, and I'll put a description down below to all of Shauné's things, like her spice blends and all that kind of stuff, so you can hit that up. It might already be down there right now.
Awesome.
So check that out. But let's talk quickly about just to go back to the question. So potatoes and steamed vegetables, you got to put those in a dish right now. What are you putting them on tonight? What are you doing?
Oh, you know what? Right now in my what do you call it? Not the big oven, the little thing
air fryer.
Air fryer. Thank you.
I'm a food nerd. I know what you're talking about.
Right. I'm looking at it right there. I have 2 baked sweet potatoes that I put in there right before we came on the show. And so what I'm going to do is just kind of add a little bit of cinnamon to those. I don't even add any like honey or agave or anything to the sweet potato because it's naturally sweet.
So sweet.
And I'm like, why was I adding all that before? Butter and all that. So I'm going to add a little cinnamon to that and just kind of eat it like as it is. And then I may scramble some Just Egg, which is one of my favorite, vegan egg products, and just kind of have a Buddha bowl or something. Maybe some roasted green beans and tofu.
You know what I like to do with the sweet potato if I'm doing it in the morning? Like do what you do, bake in the air fryer, mix it all up, a little bit of nut butter.
Okay.
And then mix that up and throw some berries in there.
Ooh, I might try that in the morning with the other one.
And if you want a little extra texture, like some healthy granola on top is nice too.
I like that. All right, Jeremy, come on.
I saw a video of someone making their own Just Egg, which was like, what do they use? Like mung beans and something else. And I was like, that doesn't look as hard as I thought it would be.
I'm gonna try it.
Yeah, if I find it, I'll send it over to you.
Yeah, because the Just Egg is getting a little pricey for me.
Yeah. And then steamed veggies. You know what? If you have an air fryer, which I know Shauné does, if one thing we've been doing with just like broccoli is great, Brussels sprouts are great with this, just toss them in like a balsamic vinegar.
Oh yeah.
And especially if you have like one that's like a thickened one that's flavored, just toss it in that and air fry it.
That's simple.
Or even like with that, like take some aquafaba, which is, for those that don't know, is chickpea juice. It's that leftover juice from the can of chickpeas. You can use it as like an oil substitute. It has doesn't have all the fat, and does have a little bit of protein though in it, which is good.
It does. Yeah.
So if you toss your vegetables in that'll give them the moisture it needs for like your spices to stick.
Exactly.
Right? And then just throw it in the air and use what, like, if you're not like, buy Shauné spice blends, description down below. But otherwise, like if you're not super familiar with spice blends, Google them. They're all over the place.
Totally.
But also, most grocery stores will just sell you like a Greek spice, an Italian spice. Like just pick a cuisine you enjoy, a taco spice, and you should be able to find.
Yeah. And basic spices like garlic powder, onion powder, I tell people you can't really go wrong with. Black pepper, a little bit of sea salt. Yeah, those are like basic ones that I'm like, can't go wrong.
Shayla's asking, best way to stay plant-based in the winter when you can't find good produce.
Ooh, this is when my tubers and root vegetables come in. So yeah, I really
like the pilgrims.
Right, exactly. Lots of soups and stews are really my kind of go-to. Chilies, in the wintertime. So I'm not a big produce person because stuff is out of season and it just does not taste good. So I start
Casseroles.
casseroles. That's another good one. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And for sure. And definitely like don't sleep on frozen stuff.
Oh yeah, that's true too. Absolutely.
Yeah. When they pick it, it's fresh. Like they flash freeze it usually like within hours of picking it. So
Exactly.
it's sometimes fresher than the stuff you
Fresher than
buy
that.
in the
Absolutely.
produce department.
That's very true. So yeah.
Yeah, soups and stews. Yeah, it's harder. I mean, because we live in this world where we have no problem spending a lot of money and gas on shipping produce all
Right.
over the world. It's
Yes.
it's sadly not that hard to actually find a lot of this stuff in the winter. But if you want to be more conscious of that, I think like you're saying, it's like soup, stews, curries.
Foods, curries, yeah. I even make a lentil loaf in this time of year. Instead of like a meatloaf, a lentil loaf. So yeah.
Yeah, but potatoes, all that kind of stuff.
Oh
Keep,
yeah.
keep clean. Oh, someone's got a tip. Peter's got a tip
Okay.
about
Oh
baked potato
yes.
fries with Dijon mustard and maple syrup.
Ooh, that sounds good, Peter.
Well, I wonder, do you mix them together? So you're making like a honey mustard,
Oh, I love
kind of like,
that.
right? Like a maple mustard?
Maple mustard,
My
yeah.
Canadian heart is all over that. Maple mustard? Yeah.
Love that. I'm gonna try that.
Um, Kano's got another question about. He wants to know your thoughts on vegan cheese. He's never tried it.
Mm. I have to say that I'm not a huge fan of vegan cheeses, and I've tried different ones. I don't like the way they melt. I don't like the fact it has tons of oil and stuff in it. It's really not that much healthier than the regular cheeses for me. So I don't use a lot of vegan cheese. I just don't. Yeah, your what do you think about that? I mean, what are your thoughts, Jeremy? That's just my personal.
Yeah, it took a long time before we found one that we didn't hate.
Okay.
I think the Diet brand has come a long way. I remember it
Okay.
being absolute trash, but now and then we'll keep some in the fridge just for like last quick things every now
Right.
and then. But
Hmm.
I have a cheese sauce that is like my ride or die that is on my website. I will try to remember to put the link down below. But
Nice.
if you just go to my website, pboj.ca, and just type in cheese sauce, it'll come up. And what I love about it is it's made with like potatoes and carrots, a little bit of tahini,
Hmm.
nutritional yeast,
Yeah.
and onions and that kind. And then tapioca starch, I think, is the binder that, and then with broth. And then so what's great about that is it starts off more like a cheese sauce,
Hmm.
like a queso kind of thing. So it's great for like mac and cheese or
Nice.
like on top of nachos. But
Yeah.
what's really cool is that like you make a big batch and then it thickens in the fridge. And so it becomes a spread. So it makes the best
Oh,
it
nice.
makes the best grilled cheese.
Oh, I love that. Okay.
And then if you freeze it,
Hmm.
you can grate it.
Ah, look at
And it
that
and
shredded
it
cheese.
and it melts beautifully. So it's like it's become my like go-to because I had at one point had a couple of different ones that would take a couple of days to make because they had to ferment and all this other
Ferment,
stuff. It
right?
was just too labor intensive, and
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that
Right.
on the reg.
And I'll say one of the things I like to make too is like a cashew cream. So if I'm doing like a sometimes going back to that sweet potato, sometimes I'll put a little bit of a cashew cream that I made over that as well. And it's another one that kind of gives me that cheesy, cheesiness that I'm looking for without having to use a vegan cheese.
Yeah. Paula wants to know any recipes for tofu where you don't have to press it. I mean, while you're thinking about it,
Okay.
people will argue you don't need to press it. I
Ooh,
think that's a personal preference. I'm
I think
literally
so.
pressing tofu right now, but here the reason to press it is this for me.
Hmm.
Texture. If you want it to be a little looser, I guess, not like more firmer, I guess firmer is
Hmm.
the way to say it, is then you might press it. Also think of it this way, tofu is like a sponge. It's literally
Right.
like a sponge, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if you want to marinate it and add more flavor in, it just makes sense to get the water out of it.
Right.
Because that way it just has more flavor to soak up.
Yes.
But we don't press it often, right? It's like
Gotcha.
it's usually like what we'll usually do if we're just being it's like last minute, we got to make a
Hmm.
meal quick, like a stir fry
Hmm.
or whatever. We'll just dice it up and throw it in the air fryer.
Yeah.
And that's it.
And then just do that.
And then just the flavors of the sauce or whatever will help it out, right? Like that's it.
Right.
So there you go. That you can just do that. And if you don't have an air fryer, just bake it in a
Gotcha.
convection oven at like 400 for 10 minutes. Toss it, look at it, and see how it works.
Yeah.
But what's your thoughts on that?
I mean, I do always press it because of the dishes that I make with it. And sometimes I'll pan sear it, and so I do want that liquid out of there because I want the other flavors to kind of really soak into it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do, and I have a tofu presser, so I'm okay with that. But I get how some people don't want to be bothered with that. But
And if you don't have a tofu, I have a tofu press too because
yeah,
I'm a nerd. But honestly, if you wrap it in a dish towel,
yes,
put it between two small plates and some
absolutely,
heavy cookbooks, and leave it for 20 minutes, and
yep,
that's all you need to do. Or
you're
before
good.
you go to work in the morning,
Right.
it'd be
And I
fine.
literally just got this tofu presser. So trust me, years before I was putting cans in a pan and sitting the tofu underneath it.
And it doesn't take long to get it
It
to
doesn't
come out,
take
right?
long. Yeah.
Yeah, but I find like the only things it definitely like it absorbs flavor more. I like the texture a little bit more. And especially if I'm making something like a ricotta cheese with it, like
Yeah,
that extra little bit of liquid being gone helps the texture a little
definitely.
bit, but it's not going to make or break your meal.
Yeah.
Darnell's asking, or sorry, Carnell is asking about chickpea tofu. I've never tried it.
I've never tried it. I have heard about it. I have not tried it yet because I see he's allergic to soy. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. Let us know.
Yeah, right. I have to look out for that.
Yeah, but it's also it's like, the thing is, if you can't have tofu, you can, just eat. Here's the thing, it's like tofu is still a processed product,
Right.
right? It's
Right.
it's lightly processed compared to other
Right.
things. But, you can just have beans and lentils.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe just skip the soy, you'll be okay.
Right.
But I don't know, and if anyone knows, let us know in the comments if you've got any
Yeah, we tried
recommendations
it.
for a
Yeah.
chickpea tofu that you like. Okay, so I think I caught up on all the questions.
Awesome, awesome.
Oh, and Pauline is saying that there's videos out there can try to make lentil tofu.
See?
So check those out.
There you go.
Cornell. Yeah. All right. So if anyone has any more questions, don't feel free to throw them in there. But otherwise, I'll get back to my list of stuff that I wanted to chat with you about. So
All right.
you tell me about becoming a certified health professional.
Yes. So, so after going through my, health transformation, losing the weight, reversing these conditions, I'm like, okay, if I'm able to do this, other people need to know how to do this too, right? So it started me down this education rabbit hole, if you will, of wanting to just get more knowledge, more education, to be able to help people, to not only just see my story as an inspiration, but give them now able to give them the tools, to kind of help themselves. And so I pursued a plant-based certification through the Center for Nutrition Studies. I, signed up, learned about the Food for Life program through the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine, and just wanting to really show people how to eat to prevent and reverse chronic disease, since that is my story. And then, with the Ruby Online Culinary School, just went through the Forks Over Knives
That's what I
program.
did.
Yeah, see?
Yeah.
So I just really, I'm in this place of now wanting to be educated, have knowledge, and just really be able to help people when they have those questions, and just how they can also do this, if it's something that resonates for them.
Nice. Did you so which course did you do at Ruby?
So I did the ultimate plant-based course. I think that's
Plant-based.
the
I
one.
think they've renamed it a couple
I think
times.
I think so. Yeah. So Forks Over Knives Ultimate Plant-Based course. I'm in the Plants Plus Pro course now, and the Blue Zones course.
Oh, I didn't see the Blue Zone. That's great. I did the
Oh, yeah.
Plants Plus one as well, and I did the
Okay.
the desserts one.
Ooh, that one's on my radar.
That one was pretty
Yeah,
fun.
I bet it was.
Yeah. That's great. Yeah, and so that for those that know Ruby, it's
B.
ROUXBE. So roux is then like a cooking thing. You roux. And that is they partnered with Forks Over Knives. And they regularly have discounts.
They do.
Often like around the holidays and whatnot. So it's not a super cheap thing to do, but
Mhm.
if you want to figure out how to cook this way, and
Yeah,
and what's really great about that course, again, they're not a sponsor here. We're
right.
just sending some
Sharing the
love.
love.
You're literally working with, their instructors. They're giving you feedback really, really quickly. And it's pretty interactive for being an online course.
Yes, very. I would
Yeah.
agree.
And a great community. And just you walk away with tons of just like knowledge and recipes and kind of inspiration.
Definitely.
Yeah. So speaking of which, what are some of your go-to meals?
Oh, wow. So we've already talked about, just bowls. Those are
Yeah.
just so easy to put together. So that's definitely a go-to meal. Breakfast, I very much love vegetables for breakfast. So, leftover dinner, sweet potato, that's going to be breakfast the next morning. Maybe with some, like I said, scrambled just egg. Love oats, overnight oats. Those are just, easy. Can make that in the morning or have that in the morning for breakfast. And then salads. I'm a huge salad person. And then, soups and curries like lentils and things of that nature. Those are kind of like my go-tos because they're just simple. I could just put them in the pot and dump everything in there and just kind of let it cook. And bringing out the crock pot during this time of year is also great too.
Yeah. I think the biggest difference between I think of the way I used to eat and the way I ate growing up, and it was the food was all separated on the plate. It was just
right.
It was like your meat and then your potato and then a little bit of vegetable.
Yeah.
Where now it's just it's almost like everything's mixed together. The food doesn't look the same. And that's why I think some of the mentality people have are like, well, when I take my meat off the plate, what do I put on it? And it's like, mix that other stuff together and then throw some sauce. So it's just a totally different way. I would say that probably 80% of what I eat is a bowl of some form, whether it's breakfast, lunch, or dinner.
Yeah, I would agree.
And I love it.
I do too.
So what are your desserts?
Ooh, so I have a chocolate ganache tart that I got it from actually Ruby, which I love. So that's one of my go-tos. Apple crisp is another one of my go-to desserts. I'm trying to think what else, because I don't really have the sweet tooth that I used to have, which is amazing. It's changed. They also make a peach crisp in the summertime. That's one of my go-tos as well. And then a chocolate pudding with using black beans or tofu. I've done both.
I've never done the beans.
Yeah. Yes. I have to share it with you. Black beans.
So are you using dates? What are you sweetening with?
Yeah, dates is in there. I'm trying to think what else. But it really turned out amazing. I was like, oh my God. I gave it to my kids. They didn't know it was black beans.
Well, it'd be rich, right? Yeah. It'd be very rich and creamy.
Exactly. So those are kind of my go-to desserts.
Yeah. Well, beans just have kind of an earthy flavor, right?
Right. Yeah.
You throw some cocoa powder in there and
that's the other thing. Yes, cocoa powder. Yep, calls for cocoa powder.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Amazing. So Shayla, what is Shayla saying? One of the hardest things for her is the recipes. None of them cater to gluten-free. So my wife is gluten-free.
You can speak on that one for sure.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I will say I've been really, because one of the things we do here on the channel a lot for those that watch is we do recipe cookbook reviews. And I've been really impressed lately in some of the ones I've been looking through, in that a lot of them give you the suggestions for what to swap out or not. But I'll just give you a quick, literally, anytime you see flour, just swap it out with an all-purpose 1-to-1. Nice. Most grocery stores sell them these days. And if not, you can find what you need in a bulk store, or you can order on Amazon and make your own blend. And in a pinch, if you have a high-speed blender and rolled oats, throw them in there. Don't spend money on oat flour, please. They charge you an extra 30% just to grind it up. If you have a blender, you can do it yourself. I'll even do it in my Magic Bullet, those little hand mixers. So literally, we'll just do that. We'll just I'll just either use oat flour or we'll use a gluten-free 1-to-1. So I would argue so you don't really need gluten-free cookbooks. Just use regular cookbooks and modify them using, the only thing the one difference you will find with the flours is just going to be a little bit denser. It's not going to rise as much. So there's just that. The texture is going to be a little bit different. Yeah. So, we got a tip from Reagan. Look up Ashley Madden cookbooks, whole food gluten-free. Yeah.
Nice.
I literally just reviewed one of Ashley's books. So nice. It's on the channel, Plant-Based Deliciousness. Awesome. So you can check it out in the past videos. But yeah, lots of options out there. So don't be shy. And you'd be surprised. A lot of people that eat whole food plant-based also remove a lot of the gluten as well.
Yeah. And I was going to say, I make a lot of my own flours just by grinding up the main thing, the oats, the almond, all types of different flours you can make just grinding up,
And the amount of money you save from doing that too.
Oh my gosh. I have a pancake recipe that calls for oat flour. And I initially was going to try to buy it. I was like, I wouldn't grind up these oats.
It takes 2 seconds.
I'm like, why would I ever? So yeah.
Yeah. And if some people like to make their pancake batter in a blender, literally grind up the oats first and then just add the rest of the stuff on top.
Exactly. So simple.
So
Yeah.
one pot pancake.
Yes.
Let's talk. So talk to me about you're a food for life instructor.
Yes.
What's
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, go. I was going to tell us about that.
So I found myself, so after I got my health coach certification, I found myself wanting to, because I love to cook, like, how can I really like show people, how to eat healthy? It's one thing to do a presentation and talk, but I'm like, I want to be able to show people. So I signed up for this class that a lady was teaching, and she was a food for life instructor. And, I came from that class realizing that this is the missing piece in terms of what I want to be able to do. And that's to, show people through actual live cooking classes, how to eat healthier. And so it's a program, that was founded by the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine. They're a nonprofit right here in Washington, D.C. And I applied last year to be a part of the program, was accepted, and completed that. And the base of their program is that they're the only online cooking nutrition program in the country that really focuses on how to eat for prevention and reversal of chronic disease. So you're just not going to find anything out there like it. And I really love it because it's all about whole food, plant-based, but then really how food is medicine. So I was like, I have to become an instructor. So completed that, last year. And so I've been teaching online classes ever since.
Wow. And so did you have to, you say you applied for that? Like, what was the process like for that?
Yep. So it's an application where you have to just, answer a bunch of questions and just, they want to, of course, know, like, how familiar you are with, whole food, plant-based, and just, they also want to know your story. And so for me, it was very much, I suffered from chronic disease. I reversed these diseases. And I know the reason why I was able to do it was because of fixing the food. And so it was just very much, it's open to anyone, they have, instructors across the world. It's not just local to the US, but
I bet they couldn't sign you up fast enough when they read your story.
I was so glad. And, it's one of those things where not everyone, gets in. So I feel very proud to have been accepted and, again, teaching and, have a class coming up about breast cancer that I'll also be teaching for the month of October.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a second. But just to finish up for the Fit for Life, is that Food for Life? Is that the kind of thing that it's like, if someone wanted to cook with you, like anyone watching right now, they can sign up and do a class with you?
Absolutely. So I have information on my website. Even I have a link, even to my PCR at the site on the physician.
It should be down below because I think you shared it with me in advance.
So they can do group classes. We can do individual. We can customize, put some together. But lots of options.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And so tell me about your Let's Beat Breast Cancer cooking and nutrition series you got coming up.
Yeah, so it really is. It's a nutrition and a cooking program that the aim is really to just show the connection between poor diet and breast cancer while also promoting a healthy lifestyle. And the reason why this is passionate for me is, first, my mom is a breast cancer survivor. But then also, I just feel that we have been told, throughout our lives that, cancer is in our genes, that it's out of our control. But recent research is really showing that lifestyle choices can significantly reduce the risk of breast cancer. And this is staggering, Jeremy, but 1/3 of all cancer deaths in the United States are due to poor diet, and many are unaware of the connection. And so this is what I'm doing with this campaign, is bringing attention and awareness to that connection. And so 5-week program, Saturday mornings, 90 minutes of your time, live cooking. And we're going to talk about those foods and nutrients that work together to promote or even discourage, growth of all cancers, including breast cancer, and then even learning specific foods when it comes to, again, breast cancer risk reduction and survival.
And you get to hang out with you on
Saturday
morning.
You get to hang out with me and learn so much, cook, and get every recipe that I make.
Amazing. That's so exciting. So sign up there. I know Holly said they already ordered some of your spice blends. So
I'll get them packed up as soon as we finish talking to Jeremy.
Great. So I got a couple little fun questions I just want to finish up. So if anyone, we'll probably wrap up here in a few minutes. So if anyone wants to throw any more questions our way, now is the time to do so, or any comments you've got for Shauné, and love for her spending her time with us here today. So where we go? I can't. I'll just find her. So if you had like some quick tips or tricks you had for people that starting off this way, if like, what's that first month look like, and how would you like help them survive that first month?
Gotcha. I would probably start with by changing one thing. Maybe like picking like I feel like a lot of times we jump into things and we're just like we get overwhelmed because we're trying to change everything at once. And I just think with this lifestyle, that may not, work for everyone. So think about the one thing, like, going back to the plate example that I said earlier. If you're someone where your plate is mostly full of, everything else, let's see how we can increase that, the amount of vegetables or whatever to, if you don't have any on there, let's start with 25%. Okay, or if you have 25, let's try 50. So I would just, really focus on one thing, sometimes maybe even one meal. Like, what can we change today for breakfast that you typically, don't? Instead of going out to a fast food restaurant, what can you make at home for breakfast this week? And so that's how I, tend to, when I'm coaching clients, is really trying to break it down into small daily steps that they can take so that they don't feel overwhelmed.
One day at a time.
Yeah, one day at a time. Yeah.
Okay. And so on a similar note, people are starting off, if they got to splurge on 3 items, only 3. It's hard, right?
Okay, that is.
What
Okay.
were your 3 things you'd recommend people pick up?
You gotta splurge on a good chef knife.
Yes.
Yeah, you do.
You will cut yourself less.
Yes, I suffered for so long, not realizing I was suffering until the Ruby courses. And I invested in good chef knives. So a good chef knife. I love my food processor, but honestly, with the chef knife, I prefer to cut things up just for presentation. But love my food processor, and then air fryer. Love that.
Nice. The knife. I don't think of a knife as an appliance, so I'll give you that.
Oh,
it's
that's
like,
true. Okay,
but it's good. I'm glad you mentioned it because most people don't think to mention it because I think it's one of those things. It's like a default thing you assume,
Right.
but we assume people have good knives and they don't. No matter people's houses I've gone over to, or if I'm cooking for somebody, I bring my knife.
Right. Exactly. See?
I'll
throw in blender as a bonus. As another appliance.
Well, that's just, and what I just saw recently, again, not a sponsor, but I know Vitamix has all these new attachments, so you can turn your Vitamix into a food processor now. They have like a new food processor attachment. So
really?
I think it's easier to do. And as we know, it's like, I know my wife is like, if you bring one more tool into this kitchen,
I need to upgrade my Vitamix.
Right? Wonderful. Okay. So any last minute, so Pauline says, thanks to both of us. Oh, I'll have to pick up your kids. Well, say hello to your kids for us, Pauline. Thanks for joining us too. And Chet also says, thanks for the fun chat. Well, thank you everyone for joining us today. And thank you, Shauné, for taking your time out and sharing your story with us and just having a really fun conversation.
Thank you for having me. Like I said, every time I get an opportunity to share, I'm for it. So thank you, Jeremy.
Amazing. So all of Shauné's information and all the stuff she talked about is down in the description below. If it isn't right now, it will be very shortly. Also, there will be chapters coming up at some point tonight. I will, just so it's easier to navigate through this. If you want to rewatch through and get any information, feel free to help us out. There's a tip jar. If you want to help out the channel and send a little love, that helps us keep everything going and whatnot. But otherwise, thank you, Shauné. I hope everyone signs up for your course. It sounds amazing. You're better than a Saturday morning cartoon.
Yes.
Spend it with Shauné.
I love that. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everyone, for watching, and we'll see you all soon.